Microphone check. All right. It's been a while since I've done a YouTube video. It's been a while since I've done a hip hop related YouTube video. I've announced last year I'm not doing that many videos this year, so ain't nothing about to change. But today's video is meaningful, and if people watch it, I believe it'll have a really good impact. So one of the first things I want to pull up is in the Biohazard RX broadcast playlist. I think one of the episodes is called Hacks. We're about to check right after this, actually. Hacks. So within that episode, I basically talk about a whole bunch of different hacking incidents over the last decade or so. And then one of the incidents that I mentioned in there isn't so much tied to hacking, but it's actually the story of the Wu-Tang Once Upon a Time in Shaolin vinyl record, the singular copy that was pressed because it was meant to be auctioned, but somehow fell into the hands of a rich white man, as usual. Martin Shkreli, of course, had to be the fall guy for this one. So within this video, I do take some time to talk about it. It's something that a few people know about, but a lot of people don't really talk about. We live in a time when a community that grew up on non-hip-hop music is now very interested in hip-hop music. And we're definitely going to get into that some other time. But these are the times that we live in right now. So it's real important for people of the community who were raised into this to really take their time and make videos breaking down the history and pulling up facts. That's the most important part, facts. Because I've seen in this last year, me taking a break from this shit, to basically show y'all who's real and who ain't. But one thing I can say is that there's a lot of people who put hip hop into their, I don't know, I guess you would say their universal tags would be hip hop. But there's a lot of people who are faking that shit and don't talk about hip hop. They chase hip hop gossip. There's a thin line between content and gossip. You got people on YouTube who are reading y'all. And when I say y'all, I'm talking about the people who be in my comments telling me, oh, turn your microphone up. Oh, set your camera up this way and all that. There be people who be giving y'all some bullshit ass stories. And because you think they the homie, quote, quote, homie, y'all be up in they shit, liking and commenting and all that. But y'all never double check to see if the story was fucking real. Motherfucking never pulled up a fucking article or even anything that has a fucking author's name attached to it as a source. No, I don't know, no certified company's logo in the corner of the website you're pulling up to read this bullshit. Like y'all and y'all YouTube people, y'all be following this. Y'all be following this, and you also be falling for this. So in this Biohazard RX episode I'm talking about, it's still on my page if you want to go back and watch it. We basically talked about this story that is no made up shit, and we pulled up facts to back it up. I mean, even when I was talking about it, it was basically all speculation that I was speaking on, or the angle I was going at was basically speculation, but I was able to pull up shit talking about it, dates of when this happened, words from specific Wu-Tang members who were able to give their point of view or their angle. All that to say, we're big fans of Wu-Tang on this channel. I've done a reaction to some of their music videos. We reviewed their album they dropped last year. Samson and the Bastard Sword, or Bastard Swordsman, something like that. I gotta go back. Fire album. Wu-Tang Clan has a lot of history in hip hop. They're some of the only people who I feel ain't been involved in no celebrity scandals. None of them fucking went to Hollywood and Botox their face up or nothing like that. All of them are still actively rapping and producing, making fire. As you can see in my background, I got this Afro Samurai canvas on my wall. If you're real familiar with that, RZA did the soundtrack to that. The legendary song in Kill Bill with the horns, the dun 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 dun, dun. That's RZA as well. A lot of people didn't know that. So in this Biohazard RX episode, I'm basically breaking down the specific story that happened with the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin vinyl record, which was meant to be auctioned. But you know how those things go. They always end up in the hands of a rich white man. Martin Shkreli being the fall guy for that. So I was really on point with that story. But it's 2026. I'm about to be on point again. This is a Biohazard RX episode called Hacks. It's in the Biohazard RX playlist. But today, we're going to talk about a book. This is a book that I believe was written back in, I think 2009, actually. Shit. This is a book by RZA called The Tao of Wu. The Tao of Wu, co-authored by RZA and Chris Norris, is a spiritual memoir and philosophical guide from the founder of the Wu-Tang Clan, blending Eastern spirituality, martial arts, and street knowledge with his life story from the Staten Island projects to superstardom. It uses RZA's personal experiences, hip-hop lyrics, and parables to explain his unique code of wisdom structured around 7 pillars based on formative life events, offering an inspiring, if sometimes chaotic, look at his journey and beliefs. So that's a good summary of the book. One thing I want to throw in there too is that this coming from a hip-hop artist, especially a hip-hop artist in the 90s, one of the things I look for when I read books is, was this person unorganized in forming the chapters? Did it seem like they were too high and going on tangents too much? Or did this feel like a money grab? Those are 3 things I look for, especially when it comes to rappers writing books as I'm reading the book. Those are the 3 things. But after completing this book, I feel like this doesn't fall in any of those categories. So automatically, I mean, this ain't my favorite book ever, but the fact that it doesn't fall into those 3 categories, I gotta put this book up at one of the, definitely in the top 15 for sure, because this book surprised me in the sense that I thought it was just gonna be a memoir, but like it says, it's got personal experiences, hip-hop lyrics, and parables. So the hip-hop lyrics kind of reminded me of the album that I recommended in the past on one of my videos called Chamber Music. So the way that album is structured is, it's a song, maybe 2 songs. Each of the Wu-Tang members make an appearance, and then they had some fire guest appearances on there. And then after that moment, it'll be a RZA parable as an interlude. And it would kind of annoy me, but then whenever I go back, a lot of those parables though, a lot of them be about some shit. So that's how I feel about this book. That's one thing that I know in the future a lot of people ain't really gonna say. Another thing that I feel a lot of people ain't gonna say is, I didn't highlight this, by the way. This is like how this website comes, but Eastern spirituality. So RZA is part of the Nation of Islam, I believe, but he's also got a friend, or he's probably got several friends at this point, but he's got friends who are Buddhists, and then he himself has also read the Bible. So his standpoint is very neutral as far as delivering a message to the different religions in our in our community. So, long story short, he's able to give he's able to give lessons and back them up with things that have been said in the holy books, or he's able to use those to support the sometimes the thinking that he had when doing certain stuff. But also, with that said, completely unrelated, but RZA being who he is, the producer of Wu-Tang, these dudes is all extremely still successful, by the way. Still, they have a show on Hulu which I haven't seen, but even that show cast some of the top rappers, and on top of that, that casting made it so that some of these rappers who it was probably their first time acting are able to get more acting gigs. Shameik Moore, shout outs to him. I met him years back in Los Angeles. Cool dude. Seen him on a few occasions, but he's been in the last two RZA movies. I think one of them is about to drop that I really want to see. One of them is about to drop, but even the most previous RZA movie, he was, I think, the main character of that, and he's the main character of this current one. So one of the things that RZA talks about in the book is how he set it up or had the vision for Wu-Tang, each member to branch out and do this, and that. Wu-Tang is huge, man. Met the man. He's in a movie with Kelly Rowland that's on Amazon, an Amazon production. Amazon bought MGM Studios. Ghostface Killah, a lot of people don't know he has a comic. He has a comic book. U-God recently dropped a book. U-God has an interesting story that I still need to read, but his son, I've always told people, is one of the best rappers I'm gonna do a list one day of like the one verse kings, and he's for sure one of them. But U-God's son, his rap name is Intel, Intel. Look him up. With all that said, all these dudes is actors now. RZA is in a movie that I have called Brick Mansions. I think it was Paul Walker's last movie. So RZA, he's been attached to all these Hollywood people. If you go and watch the music video for Gravel Pit, they had a whole scene at the end of it with Bokeem Woodbine, and basically each of them is warlords with their fucking ninja clans, and they have them duel it out at the end of the music video. I had never seen this shit because on MTV and Rap City, you know how they are, they cut the music video once the last hook plays. So I never even saw that shit till recently. I was doing some research. But all that to say, Wu-Tang Clan are some very, very strong figures in hip hop who've been doing all types of stuff that you wouldn't expect them to do, but it all connects together. So let's get into this book. So this book, it really impressed me. It had a lot more than I expected it to, and at the same time, it had the things that I went to the book for. I went to the book to hear about production or what was his vision when this song was created, stuff like that. It's not really so much of that, but there are one or two parts where he talks about that, but he does have a whole bunch of other stuff that I wasn't expecting in the book that ended up being real important. Because every day when I think back on this book, there's certain things. So I'm actually going to read a passage. This passage I felt was very important, and when I read it, I automatically told myself, like, oh, this is going to be the part that I pull up when I do this video. So this part is called Heart, a street parable of courage. When someone is known to be strong in the streets, they say that nigga got a lot of heart. It doesn't mean he's the toughest dude out there. It just means he has the will and the courage to do something difficult, even if it's just surviving. He got beat down, he came back up, he got a lot of heart. But another way of putting that is to say that his soul is large. This relates to the Heart Sutra, one of the shortest but most important sutras in all Buddhist writings. It's from the sutras known as the Perfection of Wisdom, and it's only a paragraph long, but you might look at it like the illest rap verse ever spit. Simple, tight, and incomparably profound. Mostly the Heart Sutra is about being able to see reality as it truly is. Unclouded by the things human beings project onto it. You read it differently in different translations, but to me, it's about knowing yourself. It's about trusting your heart, real heart, not your ego. To show you the truth, it's about the spark of God inside you. It's a lesson that I learned many years ago when I was a kid in Staten Island. When I was 13, the toughest guy in my age bracket was a guy they called Jun Jun. Jun Jun matured early. Physically, he was a man by the 8th grade, and he was also a knockout artist. A bad dude no one wanted to fuck with. Unfortunately for me, one of the few dudes that did fight him was my older brother Divine, who beat him. So when I met Jun Jun a year later in junior high, we had an automatic beef. A sins of the father situation. Jun Jun wanted to try me. In 7th grade, I was one of those dudes who was already going to go for it. Win or lose, I'm going for it every time. So we had a fight, and I have to say he beat me. Put it this way, when you gotta bite a nigga to get up, that means you lost. I wound up moving to Brooklyn for a year or two and then moved back to Staten Island for high school. And in my first week back in school, who did I run into? Jun Jun. He was even still with his same little homeboy he'd been hanging with 2 years ago, a little instigating motherfucker. This little dude said to Jun Jun, remember him? Remember him? He's that nigga that bit you that one time. So Jun Jun came up to me and was like, what up, boy? By this time, I was 14 and had knowledge of myself. And if a man truly knows himself, he also knows his enemy. He knows that even if his enemy is a giant, that giant still has the same weaknesses within him. I think that's why the yin and yang has 2 dots, one on each side. The dot in your opposite, in case the bully... The dot in your opposite, in this case, the bully, is his weak spot. The more knowledge of self you have, the better chance you have of finding that little dot within him. Because that dot is the you in him, it's like Jesus says in the Bible. How's it that you can see the mote in your brother's eye and not see the beam in your own? The giant is bullying you for no reason other than that he sees something in you that he sees in himself. On some level, I perceive that within infinite. So when he challenged me, I came back at him saying, I ain't no boy, man. I'm calling. His calling me, that meant we had to fight again. This time it happened in McKee Park on Staten Island between the 2 high schools, McKee and Curtis. In a way, they're Wu-Tang feeder schools. You God went to McKee, I went to Curtis. Jun Jun and I walked 4 blocks to go fight in McKee Park with a crowd following us. This time we fought for an hour. Nobody wins a fight like that. Even though we were only in 9th grade, this was a real fight between 2 men. There were blood, cuts, and kind of wounds that don't heal, and it ended with him having 2 rocks in his hands. Not a fair fight, if it ever was, and me still not backing down. The fight was over when neither of us could move. In this case, you would say that we both had heart. I had heart for defending my honor because in the streets, that's all you have. I couldn't beat this guy. He was probably lifting 200 pounds by this time. He could not beat me without killing me. I showed heart. And in this case, I showed enough heart that Jun Jun wound up becoming my student. Soon after this, he found mathematics, took the name Infinite, and began to study with me. I like to think that my heart wanted his respect so I could teach him. That's the good side of heart. But there's a dark side of heart, and that's ego. The part of heart ended up defeating Infinite. In a year or two, Infinite became known through Staten Island as a tough dude and an egomaniac. A lot of guys that hung with me from Park Hill and Stapleton didn't like him. Infinite was from New Brighton, and a lot of neighborhood wars were started by him and his brother. Mathematics had calmed him down a bit, but he was still knocking niggas out left and right. You had to say that Infinite had too much of the wrong kind of heart. It got to the point that he was confronted with a life and death situation, and ego destroyed him like it can destroy all of us. In the Kung Fu movie, The 5 Deadly Venoms, there's a character named Golden Arms who was also called the Toad, the 5th deadly venom. His style was simply to be invincible. No type of attack, not even blades or spears, could defeat him. You see a lot of golden arms, kids in the hood. The place brings it out of you. And that's definitely how Jun thought of himself. He was like golden arms. I don't need a weapon. Infinite beat many men like that, but eventually he was defeated by a lesser man. That's because he'd already defeated himself. This was a man with one of the biggest hearts in all of Staten Island, but one day he challenged this young nigga with a heart of a coward. He dared this kid to shoot him, and he did. Infinite died. Even the kid who killed him was like, yo, I didn't want to kill him. He made me. I believe that. I believe it was Infinite's heart that killed him. They say there's a dark spot in your heart, a tiny black vacuum that's the size of a tip of a needle. I believe that tiny space is where God is located inside you. That tiny dark spot is a piece of space trapped in our body, something that connects us to the universe and one another. Physics says that nature harbors a vacuum. Whether it's true wisdom or ego, something is going to fill that vacuum in your heart. You'll find out what it is as you go through life. If you're a young man and have a lot of heart, that means you have courage. But then you learn the other meaning of heart, which is love. At first, love is a vacuum. That takes courage from your heart. You're scared around a woman you love. You're not the same tough dude, the same thug. At first, love weakens you, but it soon makes you strong in ways you couldn't imagine. Love is the first two steps, knowledge and wisdom coming together. It's 1 and 2. Put them together, you get 12, and the 12th letter in the alphabet is L, which stands for love. If wisdom is like water, so is love. It dissolves you, then rebuilds you stronger. It's like when you have your first child, you've never felt weaker in your life. Your love for that child makes you vulnerable. But it also makes you stronger because you'll do anything to protect that child. So love, like wisdom, dissolves you and then resolves you. It breaks down your ego and puts you back together again properly. When love doesn't find its way into your heart, you die. That's what happened with Infinite. His fate was settled by justice. The 10th letter of the English alphabet is J, and J represents justice, which breaks down to just, ice, or C, equality. That means that your reward or penalty after being given knowledge depends on your way of using it, on how much wisdom drives your decisions. The universe will show you whether your ego is that steering wheel or you're using your talent the way God wants you to. It's going to come to light. No matter how much heart you got, it's love you need to survive. So yeah, that chapter is titled Heart. And as you can see within just that segment, there's a whole bunch of things at play, but the way he syncs them all together is dope as hell. He tells the story. It's related to having heart. He brings up the movie The Five Deadly Venoms and incorporates that. And then he also incorporated something from something related to Buddhism, I believe, somewhere in there. I'll have to go back and watch it. But either way, I felt that was probably the best chapter to kind of show what I was talking about right before, which is how he blends all these different things together. And even within this book, there is a section where he basically talks about that vision I was mentioning, how he wanted everybody from Wu-Tang to have a different style, but then also have a different, I'm not going to call it image, but he had different visions for everyone. And a lot of people are doing Inspect the Deck. We were just talking about this the other day. I was bringing up how the Czarface formation really, that shit blew up. Like, and on top of that too, like they got legacy projects that still are gonna stand out in a couple of years. Because they've got an album with an artist that's no longer with us. And then they've also got some sick Wu-Tang collabs on that, and that's Inspect the Deck. To me, like one of the most slept on Wu-Tang members. Whenever I bump my favorite songs by Wu-Tang, he's always the voice that stands out. And he's always got bars. But this isn't a book review. I don't review books, but I'm definitely going to try to keep people up to date on books like this, like stuff that really makes a difference in our community. And like I said, this is RZA. This is a dude who, when recording albums, would go to the club and Leonardo DiCaprio's there spitting Wu-Tang lyrics to him while they're drinking and shit. That shit's crazy. That's another thing that's mentioned in this book. But if you really go back to the music videos, there's evidence of all this. There's a song called Uzi Pinky Ring. One of my favorite Wu-Tang songs, but the thing that a lot of the people that's just now getting into hip-hop ain't never gonna feel is how hot that song was when it dropped, how fresh it was, how this dude RZA just incorporated scratching into I don't even want to limit it to soul, but some sample, and made it a club banger for that time. So this is a song where 9 members are rapping verses, but it's got scratching in it. It's got basically a really interesting formula that at that time worked and got on radio. And even today, that's still one of my favorite Wu-Tang songs. A lot of people didn't know this. I didn't know this either, but Wu-Tang Forever was recorded in Los Angeles. The more you know. So, although this video is long as hell, shout outs to everyone who stayed here this long to watch all this. This is your gift. If you're in my Discord, you most likely already know about this. And to get into my Discord, you basically got to go through my Twitch to get there. I set it up that way on purpose. But if you've been in my Discord, I'm pretty sure you've already seen this. So this is an album called The 007 Chambers. This is by an artist called Limbus, who's from Switzerland. And before I play Gravel Pit, which is a song I mentioned earlier, I do want to say this. I'm not doing no album reviews this year. I'm still going to talk about albums, but I'm not reviewing albums. I listen to a lot of music. A lot of people don't understand that, but I listen to a lot of music, not just hip hop. I chose to share hip hop with people because, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of people who are suddenly trying to be interested in hip hop. So I figured I'd help them out. But this is just another example of me helping people out. So I've listened to this song a bunch of times. I know right now it's going to ask me to pay for the album, but
if what you say is true,
James Bond.
and the Wu-Tang
listen to his Gravel
would be
Pit flip.
dangerous.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am
Ha! I'm a corpse from the land of the lost. Behold the pale horse, or course. Follow me, Wu-Tang gotta be the best thing since Starks and Clark Wallabies. African killer bees, Black Watch. On your radio, blowing out your watch. From Park Hill, the house on Haunted Hill. Every time you walk by, your back get a chill. Let's build, who want to talk about skill. I spit like a semi-automatic to the grill. Elbow grease and elbow boom. Baby play me, baby fall down, go boom. Party people gather round, count down to apocalypse.
I'm the kid with the golden arms.
And I'm the motherfucking hot nigga. Pass the blunt. My nigga, don't front. You had it for a minute, but it seemed like a month. Now I'm choking, smoking, hoping I don't croaking from overdose. Dose. Hey kid, when the mouth got you open, let's ride. Can't stand niggas that floss too much. Can't stand Bentleys, they cost too much. Kid wanna get up and can't get touched. Kid wanna stick up and can't get stuck. I'm the one that calls your bluff when your boys try to act tough. Remember what old Dirty said? I'll fuck your ass up. Now listen. Back and forth and forth. Back and forth and forth. Back and forth and forth. As we go.
Eat with the English, extinguish styles, extremists. Forehead beavers run.
So yeah, like I said, this is just one of the albums I have listed in my Discord. I'll be posting all types of fire ass albums in there, and it's not just hip hop. But all that to say, this album is also somewhere on YouTube. You just got to look up this artist, but I don't see the Shimmy Shimmy Ya remix in here because there's a there's a Shimmy Shimmy Ya remix that is fire as hell, and I believe that's on the YouTube one, and I don't see it in this album. But either way, fire album. If this is ever on vinyl, I'm for sure copping it. One that's probably the illest Gravel Pit remix I've heard. I feel like that one's real modern. I'm surprised this came out of Switzerland, to be honest. It had a fire sound, good use of the samples, all that. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. This is a long video. Good luck on anybody who peeps this. I'm gonna try to go live real soon. Another comic book corner is coming real soon, so keep your eyes out on that. This one's gonna be kind of different than the previous ones, but I think that people will like it. All right, peace out, y'all. Enjoy.